There is one thing that all of the world's most successful religions have in common, and it has nothing to do with truth. Just like living organisms, religions evolve, not through DNA, but through the constant emergence of new denominations, sects, and offshoots that adopt different belief variants. And the reason that you and most people believe what you believe very likely has absolutely nothing to do with the truth of it, and has everything to do with which religious variants had the best survival strategies. Today, we're going to be dissecting religion like a biologist studying natural selection, and what we discover might just shatter your assumptions about why certain faiths dominate the globe while others fade into obscurity. Here's the thing that most people never consider. Religions aren't successful because they're true. They're successful because when new denominations and sects split off from their parent religions, the ones that randomly adopt traits ensuring survival and reproduction are the ones that stick around. Just like how beneficial genetic mutations help organisms survive, religious variations that incorporate effective survival strategies spread like wildfire, while those that don't get relegated to the dustbin of history. Think about it. Every religion spawns countless denominations, each with slightly different beliefs and practices. Some Mormon offshoots, for example, embrace polygamy, while others rejected it. Some Christian denominations developed elaborate hell doctrines, while others downplayed eternal punishment. Some Islamic sects became militant, while others remained peaceful. Yet only certain variations now command millions of followers, while others disappeared entirely. What separates the winners from the losers isn't divine intervention. It's evolutionary pressure acting on religious variation. So let's examine the survival traits that separate religious juggernauts from religious footnotes. First up, we have the encouragement to procreate. Religions that tell their followers to be fruitful and multiply have a massive reproductive advantage. The Catholic Church's ban on contraception isn't just moral posturing, it's a brilliant survival strategy.
The mill's closed. There's no more work. I've got no option but to sell you all for scientific experiments. Blame the Catholic Church for not letting me wear one of those little rubber things.
Every Catholic family which churns out 6 kids creates 6 potential new Catholics. Mormons took this to another level entirely with polygamy, allowing one man to father dozens of children, each raised in the faith. Compare that to religions promoting celibacy. When your core doctrine prevents reproduction, your religion dies out faster than a vampire in a tanning salon. That's why the Shakers went from thousands of members to fewer than 5 today. Turns out, telling people not to have kids is evolutionary suicide. And then there's childhood indoctrination. Get them while they're young, and you've got them for life. Usually, at least. Christianity figured this out early. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Islam perfected this with madrasas, where children memorize the Quran before they can even think critically about what they're reciting. This isn't accident, it's genius. Hit kids with religious programming before their prefrontal cortex fully develops, and you've essentially installed a mental operating system that's very difficult to uninstall later in life. By the time they've developed critical thinking skills, the beliefs are so deeply embedded that questioning them feels like questioning their own identity. And then there's proselytizing and missionary work. Religions that actively recruit new members vastly outperform those that keep to themselves. Jehovah's Witnesses knock on doors because it works.
Hello, Jehovah's Witnesses. Do you have a minute?
I'll be honest, mate, I'm just having a wank at the minute.
Good lad. Bye-bye then.
Mormons send teenagers around the world because conversion equals expansion. Even Scientology, despite being completely bonkers, has grown rapidly through aggressive recruitment tactics. Meanwhile, by contrast, Judaism's general lack of proselytizing has kept it relatively small, despite being one of the world's oldest monotheistic religions. When you don't actively seek new members, you don't get new members. It's that simple. But once you have people in the fold, it's the fear of hell and eternal punishment which keeps them there. The fear of hell might possibly be the most effective psychological control mechanism ever devised. Nothing keeps people in line quite like the threat of infinite torture. Christianity turned this into an art form. You step out of line, and you'll burn forever. Islam follows the same playbook. The fear is so paralyzing that people would rather live their entire lives in cognitive dissonance than risk the slim chance of eternal damnation. Religions without hell, they struggle to maintain the same iron grip on their followers' behavior. When the worst consequence for leaving is disappointing your family rather than eternal flame broiling, people are far more likely to walk away. But even without hell, many religions still keep followers in the fold through social ostracism. Fears of social isolation, of being shunned and kicked out of the community. Social ostracism can be a powerful tool to keep members in the fold. Jehovah's Witnesses perfect this with disfellowship. You'll leave the faith, and your family and friends are commanded to completely cut you off and shun you.
When you're raised as Jehovah's Witness your whole life, when all of your family around you, all your friends are in that environment, when they cut you off and disfellowship you, you are put into solitary confinement.
Scientology uses disconnection policies to isolate former members. The Amish shun those who abandon their community.
When we lose obedience, we lose the church.
When leaving your religion means losing everyone you love, being socially isolated and rejected and shunned, most people choose to stay miserable rather than having to start over alone. And successful religions also often discourage questioning and critical thinking. They've learned that inquiry is the enemy of faith. Fundamentalist groups teach that doubt is sin, that questioning God's word opens up the door to Satan. Some go further, actively discouraging education or limiting access to outside information. When you control what people are allowed to think about, you control their minds. This is the essence of thought control, and many cults employ thought-stopping devices in order to keep people from questioning their beliefs. And then there's credibility-enhancing displays, costly rituals that demonstrate commitment and reinforce belief. Studies show that these expensive demonstrations actually convince young members that the religion must be true, because why else would their elders make such costly sacrifices? Islamic Ramadan requires a month of fasting and sacrifice. Jewish circumcision involves permanent bodily modification. Christian abstinence before marriage demands years of sexual restraint. When people see adults making genuine sacrifices for their faith, it signals that these beliefs must be sincerely held, and following them must be worth it. But the religions that are the most successful often integrate themselves into society, giving them enormous staying power. For example, Christianity's historical dominance in Western education, law, and governance has given it tremendous power and influence and control. Buddhism's deep ties to East Asian cultures made it nearly impossible to separate the religion from the society. Judaism became so intertwined with Jewish ethnic and cultural identity that abandoning the faith feels like abandoning your heritage entirely. When your faith becomes synonymous with your civilization, leaving it feels like betraying everything you are. Other successful religions teach their adherents to defend the religion's reputation at all costs, allowing them to avoid devastating scrutiny from their members. They create cultures where questioning church leadership or exposing problems is seen as attacking God himself.
I was always afraid to question because we were taught, touch not the Lord's anointed. Like you don't ever speak against the man of God. You don't even question him. You just follow and you are silent about it.
Why are you attacking the prophets?
This can be incredibly effective, at least until scandals become big enough and finally leak out. The Catholic Church's systematic cover-up of abuse protected the institution for decades, but when the truth finally emerged, well, they're still recovering from the damage. Some religions have used violence and warfare as expansion tools. Islam's early military conquests spread the faith rapidly across continents. Christianity used the Crusades and Inquisition to eliminate competitors and force conversions. And 11 countries still have the death penalty for apostasy and blasphemy. While violence can backfire if overdone, the historical record shows that it's been devastatingly effective at religious expansion. And all successful religions fundraise. Islam's jizya tax on non-Muslims both raised money and incentivized conversions. Christian tithing creates a reliable revenue stream that funds churches, missionaries, and further expansion. Scientology has turned financial exploitation into a fine art, charging hundreds of thousands for spiritual advancement. Money buys infrastructure, and infrastructure enables growth. Religions also have to be adaptable. The ones that fail to adapt to changing social values get left behind. Hinduism's caste system faces increasing criticism in a world that values equality, limiting its global appeal. Fundamentalist interpretations of any faith struggle in educated, cosmopolitan societies where their rigid doctrines clash with modern sensibilities. But what does all of this mean? Well, the religion that you were raised in isn't true because it's popular. That's an argument ad populum fallacy. It's popular because it's evolved traits that ensure its survival and reproduction. Your beliefs aren't the result of divine revelation. They're the product of thousands of years of religious natural selection. Christianity dominates globally not because Jesus actually rose from the dead, but because early Christianity adopted nearly every survival trait on this list. It encouraged procreation, indoctrinated children, sent out missionaries, threatened hell, ostracized heretics, discouraged questioning, integrated with governments, used violence when necessary, and created economic systems to sustain itself. Islam followed a remarkably similar playbook, which explains its rapid global expansion. Both religions are evolutionary success stories. They've adapted, survived, and thrived, not through truth, but through superior survival strategies. This is why the argument, billions of people can't be wrong, is absolutely meaningless. Billions of people aren't choosing these religions after carefully examining all of the evidence. They're born into religious ecosystems that have evolved to capture and retain human minds as efficiently as possible. Understanding religion through this evolutionary lens strips away the mystique and reveals the very human mechanisms behind divine claims. They're survival strategies that have proven devastatingly effective at perpetuating themselves across generations. So the next time that someone tells you that their religion must be true because it's so widespread, remind them that McDonald's has also served billions of people, but that doesn't make Big Macs the greatest gourmet cuisine. Popularity proves nothing about truth. It only proves effectiveness at replication. So dare to be curious about why you believe what you believe. Question whether your faith survived because it's true or because it evolved superior strategies for surviving in the marketplace of ideas. And whatever you do, don't drink the Kool-Aid.